Today I'm going to be bringing you the complete beginner's tips that you need to know here in the First Descendant. These are going to cover some basic stuff and then onto some tips and tricks that hopefully you didn't already know. If you do enjoy the video and find it useful, please do leave me a like and a subscribe down below. And without further ado, let's jump into it. So first up, your Descendant choice at the start of the game. This isn't massively important because you will probably change them soon, and the way that the First Descendant plays is that you will probably need to play a few Descendants rather than just one, as each are good for different things. So if you haven't played a looter shooter type of game before, something similar to Warframe, basically all of these different Descendants are going to have different abilities and powers that you can go through. For example, Bunny, which you get pretty early on if you just complete the main story, is electric, and the one I chose to start with is Vesa here, and she has all of these different chill or ice based stuff. Now the reason I picked Vesa at the start is for this ability right here, which is Frost Road, which means she runs a lot faster. This is very useful for going around from A to B much faster. But also her abilities are really good at AoE killing the mobs, so if you want to get through the early part of the game pretty quickly, this is the one I would recommend. And then when you do unlock Bunny, obviously for the same reasons, great with AoE and great movement, potentially better on both of those things. I'm not 100% sure, I haven't tried it, but the movement is certainly very, very fast. Second ability here, Speed of Light, is really, really quick. Really good kit that you can use to level up very, very fast, so that's really nice. And like I say, as you go through the game, you'll be picking up all of these different ones through crafting them, by obtaining the parts through various missions and boss fights and such like that. You'll get the parts to be able to craft each of these Descendants and then in turn use them as and when you want. So you can swap in and out of these and you won't be locked into one. So your first choice doesn't really necessarily matter too much unless there's one of the main three, which is Vesa, Lepic and Ajax, that you actually want to play. Now you'll see in the top left of the screen there is a minimap. This seems like a pretty obvious feature, but this is really crucial because it will tell you if there is drops such as weapons and modules. So pay attention to it. It will let you know the rarity of the drop as well, so it will show up as blue, as purple, as gold, for whatever rarity it is, but it does not show you the golds and the materials, so you will need to run over them in order to be able to collect them and just find them on the map. It doesn't matter too much if you miss out, it's never a massive amount, but I still run around and collect everything. It's just if you're at the end of a boss fight or something and you want to check that you've got everything, check the minimap and that will show you if or not you've collected all of the items in the area that you can. Now the next tip here is going to be to craft the first legendary weapon as soon as you get the last piece. So following suit with other games in the genre, as I said before, you can unlock everything in the game, but it does have to be crafted. In order to craft things here in the First Descendant, you want to go over to Anais over here and interact with them. What you'll then see is that research request button, and that brings you to this one right here. Now it will give you a recommended research, it will give you some other options here of the recommended Descendants and so on and so forth. But what you can actually do is go down to the specific one you want to look at and of course see all of these things. Now when you get access to the first weapon, which is this Thunder Cage, the first ultimate weapon you can craft, the main story will take you through this, so you won't have to go out of your way to find all the pieces or anything like that. But it does take 4 hours to craft this initial weapon. It is very good once you've got it, so it is worth it, but definitely get that going ASAP. And also, when you have enough materials, don't forget to craft the Fine Adjustment Control Axis and the Precision Phase Exchangers. These are going to be used for leveling up your weapons, and the Fine Control Axis is going to be used to control the properties of the weapon as well. So you're going to want both of these. Again, once you've got the materials, the liquid metal, you get this by scrapping down weapons, which is going to lead nicely onto my next tip, but you can use those to craft. So that being said, how do you actually get this liquid metal and other such items that you need in order to get these crafting things on the go? Well, first things first, what you'll do is head into your inventory, and if it's weapons that you want in the liquid gold for example, you go into your weapon area and you can simply dismantle any not so good weapons or weapons that you're not going to use. So for example, I've got 2 of these pistols, I can get rid of this. I've got a good pistol here, so I can get rid of this one. I've got 2 launchers, so I can get rid of that one, and so on and so forth. Now, you might have a lot more than me, I do this pretty regularly, but what you want to do is press J or the respective button, which you will see if you hover over something. It tells you there, my one is select junk J, but if you're on consoles, it will show you the button when you hover over it. Once you've highlighted all of the ones that you want to junk, you'll see at the bottom there is a dismantle junk button. Again, on PC that is control. on consoles, it will have your respective button at the bottom of the screen for you. And then you hold that down, long press it, and you will see there that you get both the super alloy and the liquid metal. Both of these can be used to craft enhancement things that you may need during the course of the game. One thing to note when you are doing this is make sure to save weapons with good perks. So you can see just under where it says DPS there, you've then got firearm attack, rounds per mag, and fire rates. And just underneath that, for all of your purple and above rarity or quality items, you will see that they come with a number of stats. Now you can see the stat rarity is indicated again by a colour scheme, blue, purple and gold there, with gold obviously being the best, and it will tell you what they do. So firearm attack is more damage, you got 4.5% here. Bonus firearm attack versus the Legion of Immortality, so a specific enemy type, nearly at 900, which is very good. Weapon change speed at 6.5%, and fire attack at 224. Now these are just innate traits that the weapon will have. When you are putting on your modules then to enhance these, you should bear those in mind, because it might actually be that you can make a weapon extra good if it's got these things. And you can see if you hover over each of the different ones what they have got. Now in this game you can actually level guns up, so even if I get this gun here at level 21 but it's actually got a few good perks on and I want to keep it, I can keep that, lock it, and then use some other guns to level it up once you get to a higher level with some of those materials that I've just shown you in the crafting menu before this. You'll see on PC again the button for doing this is the register attached items, which is U. That gives it this little heart, which means that it cannot be dismantled. I would recommend doing that with all of your weapons. Now you can see you can't do that if you have it equipped, so what you'll have to do is obviously unequip the item, then press U and re-equip it. That means if you do unequip it and you do actually want to keep it, you're not going to accidentally junk it, so I always do that. Apparently the ultimate weapons are by default unable to be junked, just because it tells you a warning that you're going to get rid of an ultimate one. For my peace of mind and for what I recommend for everybody is just lock it just in case, so make sure it's got a heart in the top left, and that way you are safe to go. The way that you actually upgrade stuff is if you head over to the workbench and then you go onto the weapon level transmission. What you'll be able to do here is put in any gun that you want, so for example the Thunder Cage, which does start at level 1 but you can level it up, and then if you pick another gun of a different or higher level, probably the highest one you've got. For me right now that is a level 28. Now it'll cost you a precision phase exchanger in order to do, so you do need a lot of this liquid metal, so that's why I recommend always stay on top of scrapping down and junking your items. But it'll tell you that that will increase it from 5,803 DPS to 9,126, with a lot more attack of plus 443.15, giving it 7 extra levels. Now this is a decent increase, but it's not going to be a massive increase when I could wait a couple more levels of doing the campaign, get some level 30 plus stuff and increase it then, and actually not use up one of these things right here. When you do hover over the precision phase exchanger, it's telling you the research material there. You don't need that research material in order to be able to complete the weapon level transmission. It's just telling you how you can acquire these again in the future. Now if we go back to the menu and go to the weapon adjustment or readjustment, what you can do here is again select a weapon. So for example I'm going to go for the Thunder Cage here, and if there's anything that you particularly want to keep, you can actually lock the options. However, this does increase the amount of readjustment or fine adjustment control axes that you need. The fine ones, of course, are for the ultimate weapons, and the more of these you do, you can see the more expensive this is, all the way up to 20. So if you don't particularly like anything, or you're not particularly attached to any of them, it might be a good idea to leave them all unlocked. It costs 5,000, and if I do this right now, I'll show you what actually happens. And there we go. So we've managed to get hip fire accuracy, fire attack, recoil, and attribute status effect trigger rate. Now, these are actually a little bit better because they've gone for blue, and there's also a purple one on there right now, which before we didn't have. So that is actually pretty good. And you can go ahead and do this as many times as you want. Of course, if you say, for example, really wanted the hip fire accuracy, you can lock this, and you just need to make more fine adjustment control axis in order to be able to keep the ones that you want and readjust the rest. So this time I managed to get firearm critical hit damage by almost 12%, the attribute status effect trigger rate up to almost 10% with a purple proc this time, rounds per mag increase, and a chill attack increase. So overall, pretty good. I'm happy with this, and I've actually run out of adjustments anyway for now, so that's fine. But this is a pretty good weapon, and that has increased the DPS, so do bear that in mind. Now bear in mind you can also go through things like your reactors and your external components, and when you've got excess of these, you can actually junk these for the materials that you need for other stuff like your reactor enhancement and such, so bear that in mind too. And on top of that, you can of course head over to the modules guy over here. So if we go down the tunnel and we speak to Cillian, we can speak to him, and we can enhance modules, and we can also dismantle modules. So I would recommend dismantling any that you have excess of, so any duplicates, and then enhance the modules as and when you unlock more slots. So you can see here I've just got a couple of spare slots right now, and on this character probably what I want to do is give myself a level in skill power modifier. Maybe 2 levels in this, depending how much we get. Yeah, we're going to go for 2. And what happens when you dismantle duplicate modules is you'll get this Kuiper shards, or Kuiper shards, however you want to say them. And they are really important because, as you can see, the further you level something up, the more it's going to cost alongside the gold. Gold, as you can see in the top right of my screen, is going to not be too much of a problem once you progress through the game a little bit. I've been playing for around 8 to 10 hours currently. But the Kuiper shards, you're going to need to keep dismantling your mods in order to stay on top of these, because when you get up, if I look at some of the higher level ones, like I've got the rifling reinforcement here, this is 3,400 a time, and it's going to continue to increase as I increase this, so you are going to want to make sure that you're on top of that. Whilst we are on the subject of weapons and such like that as well, what you want to make sure is that you are using 3 different ammo types when you select your weapons. So you can see the ammo type if you hover over it, it will say next to the DPS counter. For example, this one is impact rounds. This one above it is high-powered rounds, and the top one is general rounds. You've also got the type of ammo, which is here, the special rounds, which is the orange type. And each of these have individual drops. Now, if you use more than one weapon of the same ammo type, of course, you are going to drain your ammo a lot faster. And in some of these longer missions or bigger boss fights, that is going to be a problem. So make sure you're maximizing that by selecting 3 different ammo type weapons. And what I like to do is, if I'm running low, or particularly between the purple ones, sometimes you can get the high-powered rounds, but they are the rarest drop. So sometimes I'll swap in a special rounds tactical rifle, for example, and have that in that second slot instead. Even though these high-power rounds do a lot of damage, you can see there, level 28 at 17, nearly 18,000 DPS. It's actually very difficult to find the ammo sometimes, so you'll swap that in and out as you need to. Now, the next thing we're going to look at is your mastery rank, and to make sure that you are doing this as soon as you can, because it's going to really help you out. Now, you can see in your inventory screen how close you are to the next mastery rank up, and it's not absolutely essential that you do this instantly, because any points that you do go over the mastery rank are not going to be lost. They're just going to be simply put towards the rank afterwards, so it's not imperative to do this the second that you unlock it. However, if we click on this mastery rank up button, I'm just shy of the next mastery rank for level 8 here. Now, your mastery rank up may look a little different depending on which level you're actually going to, but you can see here it gives you an increase to Descendant module capacity and slots, weapon module capacity, equipment inventory slots, storage slots, consumable inventory slots. It also gives me access to new features, so I can now use the laboratory. Each time you level up in your mastery rank, you're unlocking new features, particularly early on. So that's why I recommend doing this as soon as possible, because it does give your account some fantastic bonuses. And you don't need to worry too much about where to find this NPC, Prime Hands, because that little emblem above it will be glowing bright yellow when you actually have a mastery rank up available. Plus the game tells you, so you'll be notified in a couple of ways, and you won't be able to miss out on this too much, so you should be able to do it next time you return to Albion. Now, one very useful little tip that people often miss is actually in the Void Intercept battle menu. When you click on the Colossus that you want to attack, you can see a few really crucial things. Now, firstly, you can see their weak point type is Crush. You can see their attack attribute is Electric attribute, so that corresponds with the recommended attribute resistance. For this one, it's of course Electric resistance of 350, and the attribute resistance they have is Strong to Fire, very strong to Electric, normal to Frost, and weak to Toxin. So if you wanted to kill this boss quickly, you're going to want to use Toxin there and be actually going for these weak points. Now, it tells you at the bottom you can cycle between the destructible parts, and it tells you what they are and what they look like. So the sensor, the core cover, and the balancer, and then the removable parts, which are the core and the shoulders. It's going to give you quite a good bit of information, which is going to massively help you out during the fight to be able to take these down quicker. So make sure to pay attention to those before jumping into the fight, so that you know exactly what you should be aiming for in order to deal the most damage possible, as well as keeping yourself alive with these resistances. So if you're wanting to get XP the fastest possible way in the early game, this is probably going to be the Kingston Defense mission, which if you go into the Kingston area, you'll see is right here. It's called Special Operation Defend Albion Resource, and it's right next to the Grand Square Outpost teleport, so you literally teleport in and walk across to it. Now you'll see here that it tells you you're fighting the Legion of Darkness, so if you've got weapons with additional damage to these, that's going to be great, but it's not necessary. And they are monster level 8, but this does scale the further into the defense you go. And what you'll do on this defense mission is essentially progress through waves while defending a resource drill or resource storage or something like that. I think it's the storage unit that you're defending. And essentially, as you get further into the game, the rewards will increase at certain thresholds. So for example, 7 waves in is your first one, but the difficulty will also increase as you get further into the waves as well. Now, what you will see from the gameplay on screen is that this is a very fast way to get XP. I'm not sure whether this is going to be patched at any point because it seems like it's a bit too quick at the minute, but it is a very fast way to level up your guns, your weapons, your Descendants, all of that good stuff, and of course gain that mastery XP. So if you're wanting to get fast XP, once you've completed all of the missions in Kingston, this will be available. My personal recommendation, if we go back to the map here and have a look, is to also complete all of the missions in the Sterile Land, as that is the main story that takes you through building the Thunder weapon as well, which does help massively for this defense mission in Kingston. So I would make the most of that and do both of those at the same time, or at least get it crafting so that you can use it in the mission once it's completed. And finally, to round out, one thing I wanted to notify you that a few people have been missing that have been talking to me about the game is the Battle Pass. Now, initially, this seems like you've got to buy it, and for most of the rewards you do, but you'll see here that there is free rewards sort of every other level or every couple of levels, and actually these items are pretty good. The Precision Phase Exchanger, pretty good to have. That's really early on that you get that at the 2nd level. 4th level, you get this sort of spray thing. But the 6th level, you get a clear pink paint, which is pretty cool. You can use it to customize the color of your Descendants and weapon skins, so it's pretty good. There's also a weapon skin here for the Gangster Shotgun, which looks pretty sick. Gladiator, sort of Roman themed. And then there's an alternative white, there's a weapon here, and so on and so forth. So be sure to claim these, because when you are going through all of the game, you're going to get this season level pop-up, and that's what this is. It's actually the Battle Pass. So be sure to claim your free ones, even if you're not planning to purchase the paid version of the Battle Pass. Don't miss out on your free rewards there. So that's pretty much going to be it for my complete beginner's tips. Hopefully this video has helped you out. If it has, please do be sure to leave me a like and a subscribe down below. Both of those things massively help me out. And if you've got any tips and tricks you also think beginners should know, do feel free to drop them in the comments below. Other than that, I will catch you again very shortly on a brand new video. But thanks for watching, take care, and peace.